In what appears to have become a regular ritual, the Union of Nigerian Universities Teachers may soon embark on a fresh industrial action. The union says the government is insincere with the implementation of the December 23rd, 2020 Memorandum of Action, which was signed by the lecturers and the government. Consequently, ASUU will later hold a meeting today to take a final decision on its proposed nationwide strike. Will these lecturers down the tools again, as it is the practice? What will become of the students if this looming strike comes to reality? Are strikes truly the only language the Nigerian government understands? Victor Emmanuel Osodeke is a Nigerian professor of soil science and a lecturer at the Michael Okpara University of Agriculture, Umudike. He is the national chairman of the Academic Staff Union of Universities, ASUU. He joins us from our Abuja studios for a chat on this looming industrial action. Good morning, Prof.
Good morning, and thank you.
Thank you very much. I hope that I pronounce your surname correctly. Please pardon me if I didn't get that correctly. Is it Osodeke?
Well, at least Osodeke, you did very well. I think you did very well.
Thank you, Prof. A decision will be taken.
It's okay, welcome.
Thank you. A decision will be taken hopefully later today. Strike or no strike, what are we up to again, Prof? Students are complaining. Parents are tired. For how long are we going to deal with these incessant industrial actions?
Thank you very much. I think whether tiredness, complaining, should be to the government, not to ASUU. As Union of Intellectuals, we want to produce graduates that we can be proud of. Graduates we know will leave the university fully armed with knowledge, theories, and practicals. But today, it's the opposite. Go to our universities. Laboratories are in shambles. Lecture theater that should take about 100 students are taking 1,000. Students sitting on the floor. Students hanging on window to take lectures. And what have you? Go to the hostels. A hostel that should take about 4 or 5 people taking 16 with stove and what have you. So these are the problems. With what we're asking for, bring our university to the world standard, so that as our students, as our elites are sending their children abroad for education, other countries will also send their children to Nigeria. Then in that way, Nigeria will make money from school fees, from tuition in the hard currencies. That's what we want. But today, nobody, not even from the nearest neighbor, will want to send their children to our universities. Meanwhile, we are busy sending our children to Benin, Ghana, Malaysia, and what have you. Why is that happening? Our Nigerians are going to lecture all over the world, but no lecturer outside the country want to come to Nigeria. That is the question our parents, the students, and the government, we should ask ourselves. If we are doing well, should we be running away to go and have our children outside? How many of these office holders have their children here? So that is the problem. It's not about ASUU. We want this system to be at par with other universities in the world in the name of universality of the university. That's why we are struggling. And we have done it over a long time, and the government is seeing indifference to it. Major reason being that their children are not here. So I also want, that is the problem. So the children should not be, our students should not be worrying. We are fighting for them. That they should go out with a degree that they can compete with any other country in the world. They should stay in classroom with students from all over the world sharing ideas about their country. That's what the university is, and that's what we want Nigerian university to be.
Right. Thank you, Professor Osodeke, for that. Now, one of the bones of contention in this matter is also the refusal for, at least that's what's been purported, of the IPPIS system, where, of course, the ASUU is demanding to go with the UTAS. What are the merits of that? And is that any tenable grounds for holding salaries in the first place?
Thank you very much. If you check the University Law Miscellaneous Act, it will state clearly that it's the council that will manage the finances of the university and pay my salary, they employed me, and not the Ministry of Finance. So, but what you have now is that the Ministry of Finance now determine the staff in the university, determine who is paid, how much should be paid, and not the council that employed the staff. And we have challenged the government. Mention one country in the world, the whole world, even the poorest one, the rich one, where salaries of lecturers are paid from the Ministry of Finance of that country. There is none. That's the autonomy of a university. What the university should do every year, they prepare their budget, pass through the system, through the National Assembly, the budget is approved and released to the university. If at the end of the year, the university account for that budget, if there is an infraction, whoever is responsible is punished. But this idea is going to compress all of us into one small unit, headed by very people who really have little or no knowledge about university, to pay the salary of professors of a university. A university is different from civil service. The structure is such that we expect lecturers from outside this country. We expect lecturers to come from the industries who will come and tell some practical issues. We expect lecturer A to visit lecturer B with some special knowledge. They are not captured in IPPIS. And those are the problems we are having today. We have challenged them. Look, we want this country. Let the government publish the last report of the Auditor General of the country on IPPIS. They just released the report, about 200 and something pages. Let them publish that report. And you see the scandal in IPPIS. So we challenge the Auditor General of the country to publish that report on IPPIS. And you see what we have been talking about, that we have vindicated. So we expect, but for our UTAS, which they have released, the NIDA have finally released their report to us, and their report for me is laughable because it's contradictory. But their report, the final end user assessment of our UTAS is about between 7 and 80% approval. And any project that have about 80% approval, end user approval, the final end users, you don't say we don't recognize it. You don't recommend it. You should go and do ABCD. I thought they would have told us, we found ABCD, please, while you are implementing, you do that. And those are implementing issues. So those are the problems we are having.
But Prof, the federal government just recently released about 55.5 billion, just to show commitment, to the memorandum that was signed, with you. But I see, of course, that there is also about 22 billion in terms of allowances that are still outstanding, even though the Minister of State for Education has said that the allowances are not within the purview of the union, that it ought to be discussed from university to university. What really is the issue with the allowances yet to be paid and the 55.5 billion that has been paid? What is that for? That's one, Prof. Secondly, who really are you negotiating with? In all this, we've not had anything, absolutely nothing, from the Honorable Minister for Education, Adamu Adamu. Is he still the minister? Is he discussing with you? What is happening? Who are you engaging with as far as the federal government is concerned?
Thank you very much. We were engaging with the Ministry of Education over some time. And then in the process, the Minister of Labor now took over the conciliatory role in the process. And the conciliatory role is such that you bring all the ministry together to say, what are your problems? Which we have done. And based on that, we reach an MOU, an MOA, on how to implement them, chaired by the Minister of Labor. So having left the Ministry of Education, now you now have Ministry of Education that is conciliating, that brings us together, is now coordinating it. We have been talking for the past 1 year or so with the Minister of Labor. And they have assigned role to each of the Ministry of Finance, Ministry of Education, and what have you. So that is the procedure where we are now. Like I agree with you, we have not had contact with the Ministry of Education for quite some time, but we will expect that to come from the government, not from us. We are government. The government should tell us what is the problem. That is it. So even as part of the process, National Assembly also intervened. You recall, the Speaker of the House will call us also to a meeting where they told us that within 2 weeks, all the issues will be addressed. That was in October. Now we are in December. And the issues all have not been addressed. Like you said, the sum of 30 billion naira was released as revitalization fund to the universities. And we are told that about 20 billion have been released of that money. And some branches are actually confirmed. Then they had released 22.127 billion as academic allowances, which some universities also have got. We are still waiting for other universities. Those are the two issues for me that they have done some, they have implemented part of the program. But we have other issues. The issue of our peace to talk about. As I'm speaking with you, we still have about so many of our members who are being owed 20 months salary, who have not been paid. 17 months, 11 months, 3 months. They pay you this month, the next month you are paid, you are not paid. We have professors who were paid 27,000 in a month. They just cut the salary. Last month, one of my trustees of our union was paid minus 150,000. So those are the problems we're having with IPPIS. And the problems are persisting. And like I said, let the government release the Auditor General of the Federation report on IPPIS 2021. And then you see the scandal in IPPIS.
Now, Prof, just to clarify...
And then we also have the issue of renegotiation.
Yeah. Prof, thank you for sharing that with us. But just to clarify, are you refuting or are you saying that this amount of money that was released is in fact the amount of money that was released? We just want to know that because we've got word from ASUU refuting claims that a certain amount of money was actually released. Let's start with that. And of course, I want to talk about the wider implications of these strikes for students and sponsors. Of course, just last year came out of a 9-month or even longer than that, and now we hear again of the threat of another, strike. And I understand, of course, we do understand that this is just a reaction to the existing reality for, the situation. But what are the long-term implications of this for the students themselves? Because this is really what it is about. And how do we address this issue sustainably, in your opinion?
Thank you very much. The question I want to ask Nigerian and our colleagues in the press, what is more important? Just churn out students without the appropriate knowledge, or struggling to ensure that you stay in such a way that you bring out students who are well knowledge? Let me give you an example. In the 70s, those who are in the 70s, 80s, 60s, 70s, and early 80s, were you hearing of building collapsing in Nigeria? The answer is no. Today, is there any month a building does not collapse? Why have we not asked ourselves the question, why are buildings collapsing? You are training an engineer who didn't pass through the practical session of training, and they are now heading those areas. That is the problem. As a country, we should look for the best, not just graduate students. If it takes you 7 years and government decides to build up the practical session, build up the standard of university, so that we get out the best students into the public, that is better for Nigeria as a country. It's better for the students than just pushing out people 4 or 5 years when they have not gotten the appropriate training. Where a laboratory that you should have 10 students, you are having 200, and you are doing group practicals of 20 people using one microscope. Is that what we want? So that is a question Nigerians should ask ourselves. We are building collapsing in the 60s when you have good universities, in the 70s when you have good universities, in the early 80s. Why is it collapsing? What are they collapsing every day now? So that is the question, that is the risk we are taking as a country. We must build our university in such a way that the other country will have confidence on us and bring their children here. External lecturer will have confidence on us and bring their lecturer come and teach here. That is what we should be aiming at. Not just training our students talking about strike. Strike is not the problem. Strike is just a symptom of the problem. And Nigeria should not be looking at strike as the problem. 2, we have given this government from January 2020 till December 2021 to implement just minor things. Minor. When you look at it, they are minor. And they didn't do it. Hold the government responsible, not ASUU. And we are not insisting on the strike. We say, government, take this time, implement this. I took this how many years to release 30 billion. A country that can also take so many $1 million to go and revamp electricity sector that already be sold out. Why don't you look for money wherever it is to fund your education to a standard? Education is #1 priority for any nation that want to develop.
Well, that's correct, Prof. But we also know that health is also important, and we see that I do not even know between ASUU and the NMA, and the resident doctors who has gone on more strikes in the last 2 years, because this is the reality of our country. This is what we are dealing with. Education in shambles because government is not honoring its agreements with you. Health, the same thing. But then we can't continue like that. I recall, Prof, and I'm sure that you remember, there was a time when the late President Musa Yar'Adua was there. He had Dr. Wale Babalaki as the arrowhead of the discussion from the government side with ASUU. And I think at that time, for almost 3, 4 years or 5, we didn't have any major issues with ASUU. Of course, we have to take on board the fact that when he eventually became the Unilag's pro-chancellor or something, there were issues there. But then when he was negotiating on behalf of the government, we didn't have problem with ASUU. Do you think that there is a better way that ASUU, or the federal government, shall I say, can engage with the ASUU and in honoring all the promises, if there is somebody who is competent, who understands education, who understands negotiation, if such a person is put forward as the mouthpiece of government?
Thank you very much. What you are saying is not correct. Babalake was appointed by the government to chair their negotiation team with ASUU in 2017. We negotiated with him from 2017 to 2020, and we didn't reach solution on any issue. Actually, he's the one causing all this problem.
No, but that was the second.
All this problem we are having.
Prof, that was the second time. He was reinvited.
No.
Yeah. Okay, go on, sir. Go on, sir, please.
No. I'm just telling you the truth.
Okay.
The other time, the other one was negotiated. The chairman was Gamaliel Onosode, not Babalake. But his own idea was that the school should be more privatized. Students should pay a fee. The average student should pay a fee of 1 million naira. That was what delayed this our negotiation from 2017 to 2020 until it was changed and Professor Muzali Jubri was brought in. And we finished negotiation within 6 months. But government had refused to implement that negotiated agreement. It has been with us since May, and we thought by now they would have released that document so that we sign and move on to universities. But they are keeping it. That is the major issue why we are going to discuss today on what to do next. The major issue there is renegotiation. That agreement was negotiated in 2009, and we agreed in 2009 that every 3 years it should be renegotiated. But it is not. Let me give you a typical example. When we negotiated that agreement in 2009, the average salary of a lecturer here was about $3,000 a month. About $3,000 when you look at the exchange rate. Today, the average salary of a professor is about $700. So he had depreciated so much, and we said, let's renegotiate. And government had played game with it. And that's why you will not see any single lecturer from any other country in the world coming to teach in Nigeria. But Nigerian lecturers are going to teach in Benin Republic. That's our problem.
Right, Prof. Of course, you're alluding to a potential and existing brain drain situation, which of course we see what's leading to that. But I want to circle back very quickly before we move back to the question I asked earlier. Could you please clarify to us how much money was released? We have the situation, or we have a purported amount of over 52 billion naira that was released by yes, please, thank you, Steve. Could you confirm that that's accurate, or is that in fact misleading in any way?
Well, it is misleading. The money that we agree was that government will release 30 billion naira for revitalization fund to upgrade some of our facilities as a sign of commitment to implementing 2009 agreement, which indicated that government should release 220 billion naira every year to university, which they have reneged. And now we have been told, and we have confirmed from many universities, that 20 billion of that 30 billion have been released to some university, still leaving a fraction of 10 billion. On the other one is the issue of earned academic allowance. In Nigeria today, like we have said before, the ratio of student to lecturer in Nigerian university is about 1 lecturer to about 30 to 40 students. But when you go to the standard by NUC, National University Commission, which regulates the university, is that it should be 1 lecturer to between 9 for medical and other related sciences to 15 in the humanities. So the lecturers are doing extra work. A class that is number 200, you are teaching 1,000 class. So that is the problem. We have the earned allowance. And for that, they were supposed to have released 25 billion in May, but it was not released. They agreed they will mainstream it so that we don't talk about EA again, because part of the salary with 2021 budget. But still, it was not done. But now we have been told that this, what they released now, which is 22.127 billion, is part of the mainstream for 2020. So they have released for now 20 billion for revitalization fund and 22.127 billion for earned academic allowances. And that includes for academics, for the Senior Staff Association, for the technologists and from the junior staff, for this, what do you call it, the junior staff.
All right, Prof, you have appealed to Nigerians to step in and help ASUU, speak to government, which is a good thing to do so that it doesn't look like, oh, ASUU is here, is up in arms again with the federal government. But then you know that even the public, like the media, understands what the issues are. But the issues are not something that you can deal with, at a go. So in reiterating the appeal that you have made to the public, what two key things would you like the public to emphasize, which of course will be trumpeted via the media? What two key things do you think the public should cry about for you, so that in taking the decision that you are taking later today, we will know that if the government says, okay, let us drill down to just 2 or 3 key things so that we don't again return to the trenches. What would those 2 key things be, Prof?
Thank you. What we are saying, in effect, is that Nigerian people should interact with the government to do what is needful for Nigerians, not for ASUU. If the universities are working, it's not for ASUU, it's for Nigerians. If the universities are doing well and we're having lecturers students come abroad, it's for Nigerians, not for ASUU. So what we are fighting for is Nigeria. What we are trying to avoid, comrade, is this. As of today, all our primary schools have collapsed, public. Because the public did not, the Nigerian people did not do anything. They have collapsed. Nobody put a child in public school again. We are taking them to some of these secondary schools, so-called private, in 2 floors in a building where you have traders also selling. That's not the idea of secondary school. So we are saying, let's keep our university alive. As I speak to you, 95% of our students in Nigeria total, 95% are in the public school. Only about 5% are in the so-called multiple private schools because of the struggle of ASUU. And we must keep it on to ensure that our children get good education, which will bring our students and graduate who can compete with anyone in the world. That is what we want for our students. And it should not be about ASUU strike, about ASUU, but about the public. That is that. 2, the area we want the government and the public to take, which will not take time. 1, bring out the agreement we negotiated with their team and reach a conclusion and sign. Simple. 2, UTAS we have developed that the end users supervised by NIDA say it should be adopted immediately. It should be adopted. Let me give you an example. We want to challenge the government. When they brought IPPIS from abroad to Nigeria, was it tested by NIDA? They said no. So you brought something from outside this country, you brought to your country to use, you didn't test it, and we're having the problem we have today. And the one developing your country that you can easily have somebody to correct anything there's any, you said you will not allow it. That is part of the problem we're having today, that we believe so much on foreigners. We believe so much on anything that comes from abroad is good, which is what we should discourage. We have the capacity to do them here. If our laboratories are working, if our lecturers are allowed to do their work, if the government has released money for research, we will not be talking about 2.5 million dosage of a vaccine for COVID. We should be producing our own. We have the scientists. Some of those scientists championing it abroad are Nigerians. So if they can champion this thing and abroad, why can't we do that in this country? But the country will not give 1 kobo for such. America will give hundreds of billions, will give billions of dollars to researchers to work on these things. But Nigerian government will not give anything. Is that how we should run a country? And what is the basis for this scientific development? It's education. We were talking education ahead. They are similar. The doctors in the hospitals are trained in the university. So they should be product of university. So if you have good doctors, good environment to bring out the doctors, the hospital will work well. If you furnish the hospitals, including the one in universities, the teaching hospital, we will not be seeing our leader running abroad every day for treatment. Today, every Nigerian, when you are having headache, he runs abroad. Because they are afraid of, because they refuse to fund the one at home, they are afraid to go there. So when they have headache, they run abroad. Is that how we will run the country?
Right, Prof. Osadike, we hear you loud and clear on that. Just very briefly, before we move right along, could you just tell us what is the actual position of ASUU right now? Should we not receive or get any information or way forward in terms of the funds that we are requesting for, and also UTAS, what would you say your final decision would be as a body?
Thank you very much. We have given the government a long space from January 2020 to date. And our union decisions are taken from bottom up. We don't impose decision on our branches. So they have met. They are going to meet. We will hear from them. Whatever they ask us to do as a leader, we are just messengers. We will do them. So until we meet with them today, all of us meet and look at what our branches are reporting. Then we'll go ahead, whatever they will say what to do. We're also seeing intervention from around this country on us, but we tell them this intervention should be on the government, not on ASUU. Don't appeal to ASUU. Appeal to government to do the needful. And it's not much, like I said. It's not a way, yes.
Right.
So, Prof, let's just hope that this strike action this time around, very close to Christmas, will be averted. You've told us what is needed. We believe that the government, is listening and will do the needful. But of course, also do more. This is as much as, it's also about ASUU as well. You can stop this strike by making your points clear and then, having the interests of the country and the students especially at heart. Thank you so very much, Prof.
Thank you very much, Prof.
It's been nice having you.
Thank you.